Well, ever since beating Michigan to get to the national championship game, things have been on a bit of a downhill slide for TCU, and now some controversy seems to be in the mix. Welcome into the channel. I am John Kurtz. Here on this channel, we talk college football from a Big 12 slant and tons of conference realignment. If you are into that, please consider clicking subscribe and turn that bell on so you know when it is that I'm going live, typically Wednesdays and Sundays, although that is a little bit different this week. You can support the channel as well on Venmo, John-Kurtz-4 there. Before I get into this story about who TCU may be hiring to replace Garrett Riley as its offensive coordinator, I am going to remind you once again, this video releasing here on Monday morning. My plan is to go live tonight since I was not able to last night, mixing in a little bit of content to hold you guys over and accommodating my schedule this week. So I do really appreciate it. All right. Unfortunately for TCU, Garrett Riley, Lincoln's brother and the architect of that great TCU offense this year, is going to Clemson. In what is a very interesting move from Dabo Swinney, and something, frankly, we should probably talk about more here on one of these live chats, because I have made a big deal out of Dabo being kind of stuck in the mud and Clemson trending downward as a program because of that. This is a move that sort of flies in the face of that, and it leaves TCU searching to find an OC. Unfortunately, for TCU fans, and I would just say the betterment of society, it looks like Kendall Briles may actually be the guy. Now, I'm quoting frogstoday.com. This is the story that has made the rounds on social media. I can't really properly vet frogstoday.com for you. I'm not trying to slam them or do the opposite, prop them up. I'm just going to read you what is here. I don't know much about frogstoday.com, but their story says, former Baylor offensive coordinator Kendall Briles is the leading candidate to become the next offensive coordinator at TCU. Briles is currently the offensive coordinator at Arkansas, and earlier this month signed an extension worth $1.3 million a season. Nothing has been finalized, according to a source. Another source says Briles is leaning towards leaving the Razorbacks to replace Garrett Riley. Okay, so that's an interesting piece of this, too, saying that the ball is basically in Riley's court on this, that, like, TCU has identified him, they want him, and now he has to decide, which, putting aside everything else, if we're just talking about purely the decision, that is an interesting thing in college football, because you're leaving an SEC offensive coordinator job to go take a Big 12 OC job. But I think here the Texas ties and being a guy that was in the Big 12, first and foremost, would make sense for Briles as far as that goes. But that also leads you to believe that, like, TCU thinks this is the dude, and that it's going to be a matter of whether or not he decides to come, which I don't know. And if this is a trial balloon that was leaked to see what the reaction was going to be, I mean, most of the reaction I've seen from TCU fans has been pretty damn negative, and understandably so. A little more from the article. It says Riley left the Horned Frogs on Thursday to become the offensive coordinator at Clemson for a reported $1.75 million a season. Head coach Sonny Dykes spoke only generally about the opening Saturday at Shellmeyer Arena, where he watched the TCU men's basketball team beat K-State. All right, so the controversy here is clearly because of what Kendall Briles was party to at Baylor, where all the scandal unfolded under his father, Art Briles. Art has not found a way to successfully get back into high major college football. Kendall has been able to, and should be noted, TCU did hire a strength coach who was involved in all of that at Baylor too, and certainly another person who would be party to that. Strength coaches have a lot of involvement with the program in the offseason in particular, and I know TCU fans already are not really thrilled. Many, I shouldn't speak for all, many were not really thrilled that they went that way in the first place. Now, this would be an even more high-profile example of that. Just to give you a little rundown, ESPN had they did a great job of chronicling everything that happened at Baylor, all the allegations, all the sexual assault allegations here. April 15th, 2012, football player Tevin Elliott rapes a female Baylor student outside an off-campus party in Waco, Texas. March 2nd, 2013, a female student trainer with the football team accuses football player Shamichael Chapman of sexually assaulting her. April 2013, a Baylor volleyball player tells then volleyball coach Jim Barnes that 5 football players raped her at an off-campus party earlier that year. April 2013, a member of the Baylor Bears recruiting hostesses program alleges football players Trayvon Armstead and Chapman sexually assaulted her at an apartment following a party. October 2013, a Baylor women's soccer player accuses defensive end Sam Ukawachu of raping her at his apartment. April 2014, another Baylor student tells police football player Devin Chafin physically assaulted her during an argument. She alleges he choked her, slammed her against a wall, and kicked her. No criminal charges were filed. Okay, that's just a bit of a rundown. You get the idea why there's a lot of controversy here and why Art Briles has not been able to find his way back in, and why many people would not want Kendall Briles representing their university. And my first question in all of this would just be, I guess, even I don't think you should set aside all that, but even if we are going to set aside all that, and you know that it's going to be a controversial reaction here if you do this, why does TCU feel the need to do this right now? Okay, Kendall Briles is certainly talented, but TCU should be in a position to attract a number of very quality candidates here at this point in time, right? You're coming off of an appearance in the national championship game. You just won the first playoff game in Big 12 history. You won the league. You're already doing a great job in the portal. Chandler Morris had beat out the Heisman finalist quarterback that is now exiting the program last year, so you figure to be in pretty good hands at QB. Like, there is every reason in the world to think that you could go attract a very quality offensive coordinator candidate. Why do you need to get involved in this? Why do you need to put your fans through this? On top of all of that, I think another thing that's tough for TCU fans here, and I'm always empathetic to the fans and thinking about what it would be like as a fan to experience some of this. I mean, the guy came from Baylor, and obviously TCU and Baylor hate each other. And that was a guy that was, there were some bitter moments between TCU and Baylor at the peak of the Art Briles and Gary Patterson eras there in Big 12 lore. So you got to stomach a guy coming with the last name Briles, who obviously was at Baylor, who now has all this controversy and these heinous things attached to the program he was at, where Baylor did really nothing about it. I can't imagine being a TCU fan and trying to stomach this. And I just don't understand the need, really, of TCU to do this right now. I mean, Sonny Dykes obviously doesn't seem to care that much about all this if he was already willing to take somebody who was kind of involved on his staff already. So I suppose he's already really shown his cards on this. But, man, I don't know. There's so much positive momentum and so much goodwill that's been built up at TCU. I don't understand why you need to go down this road right now. I mean, especially at this moment in time. Like, it feels much more like a move that you would make if you're in desperate need of getting your offense shocked back to life. And that is not the case at TCU right now, man. I think they're still in very good hands. I thought Chandler Morris was going to be a pretty good quarterback this year. And I think TCU has proven that offense is not going to just go away. And they continue to recruit well, both in the high school ranks and in the portal. So, man, I wouldn't mess with this. I would not touch this. I think the interesting part at this point will be, does TCU Athletic Director Jeremiah Donati care about the backlash that's already occurring on social media? I still, again, I'm curious where this initial report came from. Is it somebody trying to leak this as a trial balloon to see what the reaction would be and then judge it based on that? I mean, the way the report is framed, it would tell me that that's not really the case, if they're acting like it's basically in Kendall Briles' court right now and him just deciding on this. But either way, this just seems like a mess coming, and I would not want any piece of this if I were a TCU fan. So TCU fans, I certainly can empathize with you on this standpoint. But, hey, we'll see where it goes. I mean, we'll see where it goes from here. I think this will be a really interesting one to follow as it continues to develop. And I would imagine that we'll get some resolution on this one way or another pretty quick. I wouldn't think this is going to be something that lingers on for a while. Again, if you have not subscribed to the channel, if you're into Big 12 football, you're into college football, you're into conference realignment, it's all we talk about here on this channel. A little bit of college hoops, too, now that we're in basketball season, but please consider subscribing. Click the bell to make sure you get alerts. If you want to support the channel, it's John-Kurtz on John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo. That is how you support the channel, John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo. You can follow me on Twitter at JLKurtz as well if you have something for me. I try to be pretty responsive there in the DMs. All right, that's going to do it for me here. My plan is to go live again tonight and kind of try to get back on a fairly regular schedule here as we move forward. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon.